Today I wanted to chat about the best series that I have read in 2024. I haven't been reading, well I say I haven't been reading too many, that is a lie. I've been reading quite a few. I haven't read too many amazing series this year. I've been really struggling with my series reading, but I did want to feature and give a shout out to the ones that really stood out to me, because there haven't been many and I feel like they've made such an impression, so I should probably talk about them. So let's just have a chat about the amazing, really good book series that I have read this year, and maybe you'll get some ideas of what you would like to read. I'm trying to see how many series I actually read or started this year, but my spreadsheet isn't really made for that, so I'm not entirely sure what my total is. However, I can see that I have read about 80 books that are in a series, but some of them are obviously in the same series, so yeah, I don't know. Take from that what you will. So the first series that I would really like to feature, that I started this year and am already rereading, is the Murderbot Diaries by Martha Wells. This is a sci-fi series. Most of the books in the series are just novellas, so they're really small, but there are 1 or 2 novels in this series as well. I haven't reached them yet, so I don't actually know which ones those are. I have read the first 3 books in this series twice each, because I listened to them first of all at the beginning of the year in February, and I ended up really enjoying them, so I told my husband that he should listen to them because I knew they would be his kind of thing, and then we decided to listen to them together. So I've listened to them twice and it's so worth it. It's such a good series. So this series follows a robot called Murderbot. It was previously working for the government, or maybe a company, can't remember. It kind of severed its governing module, which is the module that made it kind of listen to commands, but it didn't want to carry on murdering people or working for this company or whatever. So it severed it and it's now kind of on the run. You don't really know much about its background other than that in this first book. You just know that it's kind of running from something and it was doing some pretty terrible things. So in this first book, it's currently working with another company of people who are kind of on a mission on another planet, and there's a rival company. Things start to go wrong and Murderbot has to interrupt its TV series marathon to help out because it's strong and capable and wants to help its friends. I have really been enjoying this series so far. I'm really looking forward to continuing on with it. I think I might listen to a couple of these on the plane to Australia because they are such good listens and I can download them and just, you know, get lost in them. And I think the books are normally about 3 hours each if they're novellas. That would be an easy listen and it will keep me entertained. I think the series has a lot of heart. Murderbot is an absolutely wonderful character. It's very snarky. It's obviously a massive fan bot of TV shows, gets really into them, and honestly I can relate. So I'd highly recommend this series. It's one of the best that I've read all year and I can't wait to carry on with it. I would also like to recommend the Natural series, which came out years ago, and I read this one years ago, but I never carried on with the series. So this, sorry, I need to stop playing with the stickers, I keep getting distracted, but the stickers on the back are driving me crazy. So I read this one years ago and it's a YA thriller series about people, it's kind of like Criminal Minds, so it's got like some expert teens working for the FBI government, and they've all got very special talents, and that's why the government or FBI want to work with them. But obviously, as most of them are teenagers, that's a bit wrong. They shouldn't be doing that. It's exploitation. But like I said, it's a bit like Criminal Minds, so they have like unsubs and things and serial killers and things, and these teenagers try and solve the cases. It's a 4-book series with a short novella at the end as well. I have only just this year carried on with it. This series has kind of had like a resurgence because of the popularity of the Inheritance games, which is also by the same author. But honestly, I think this series is better. I'm so glad I carried on with it. I got really attached to all of the characters. It's like a found family sort of thing. They're all very sweet, mostly to each other, or they are like deep down. Maybe not all the time. It's just a lovely little group of people, and I love reading about their like special talents and skills that they have. Their backgrounds are also really interesting. I would recommend this series as well. It has a lot of heart to it, and by the end of the series I was so attached to all of them. I did think the last book in the series wasn't as good as the others. I feel like it leaned too much towards like the absurd, and I don't love that in my thrillers or contemporary books. I don't need like a massive dramatic like explosion or all these different things happening. I want it to be very much like based in reality, and I just feel like it was a little bit too much in the last book. But I still really enjoyed the series. I had a really good time with it. I marathoned it, and I would like to do recaps of these. If you guys are interested in video recaps of this series, let me know and I would love to do that because that means I get to reread them. and make notes, and I would just love to do that. The next one I started and got really into was The Serpent and the Wings of Night. So this is the first book in the Nightborn duet, but also the first book in the Crowns of Neaxia series. So this is a series of duologies. It's romantasy, it's focusing on one couple per duology. And in this first one, we follow the human daughter of the vampire king. Her name is Aurea, and she wants to enter these trials that happen every so often. They're like vampire trials. She would be the only human entering. She wants to enter so that if she wins, she would get a wish from the goddess who creates vampires, because she is sick of being the vulnerable human around all of these vampires. Her dad has kind of like fed into that as well, because he's like, you are really vulnerable and weak compared to all of us, you need to be careful, stay away from everyone else. And she's really taken that to heart, and so she wants to enter the trials and win. At the end of the trials as well, she'll like get a bond with her father, and like there's loads of stuff happening. Like I said, it's a romantasy, so there is a love interest who is also in the trials, and I really like him for the most part. There was one moment right at the end of this book that really annoyed me. I think I mentioned this in my recap or in my video review, or so I mentioned it somewhere. The main character's love interest, his name is Rain. He says a line at the end of this book that kind of comes out of nowhere, and it's really harsh and disgusting, and I hated it, and it's never addressed again. Having read the second book in this series, it just doesn't come up, and it's like, you need to apologise for that, and you need to apologise over and over again, because it was awful. So I wasn't a massive fan of that, and that left a bit of a sour taste in my mouth in the second book, but I still really enjoyed this duology as a whole. The second book, Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, that kind of dragged a little bit. There was a lot of like travelling around. I don't like that in my books, especially final books in a series, and as it's the final book in a duology, like, get it together and get where you need to be. You don't need to be like flying about the country and camping in the woods and stuff. I really don't like that in my books, and it seems to happen in a lot of them. But at the same time, there were some really creepy moments that I have really stuck with me, and some really heartfelt moments as well, and you learn a lot about the vampire king in the second book, and also Aurea's background. So yeah, I really enjoyed this duology. I haven't read the third book yet. That follows Misha, who is a side character in this one, and that's going to be the first in her duology. But maybe by the time I am uploading this, I will have read it, and I really hope I like it, because I do like the author's writing style. I've got a few more books by her as well, so I'm looking forward to exploring more of her work. So the next one was a pure reread for me, but I wanted to mention it because I absolutely love it, and that was A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I reread books 1 and 2 so that I could recap them, and then I didn't recap book 2. So I need to reread that again sometime in the new year, so I can post that recap. This first one follows a girl called Pip, and she is investigating a cold case from her hometown. So 5 years ago, a high school student called Andy Bell went missing. Andy Bell's boyfriend, Sal, is said to have killed her, and he left a suicide note before taking his own life, and that's why everyone thinks that, and it's like, case solved, he did it, but let's not bother looking for Andy's body. And then Pip doesn't like this, and so when she gets the chance to do a school project, she bases it on this case and starts investigating it, and then that opens like so many cans of worms, and this small town is like overturned, let's say. There is the death of an animal in this book, and that is the only downside to this. I love this book and this book series so much. I am really looking forward to rereading the second book again. I might reread this one as well in 2025, and then getting to the third one and rereading that, because I think my reactions to the third book will be very different this time around. It's a bit of a divisive book because people don't agree with something that happens right in the middle of it, and then things take a turn, and it makes some people really angry. To be honest, it didn't make me angry, it just confused me. So I'm hoping this time around I will love it more. I don't think I'm gonna get angry at it, because I just love Holly Jackson's books, and I love Pip and Ravi so much. An amazing read, 5 stars. I gave the second one 5 stars as well upon a reread, and I just absolutely love it. So yeah, I'm glad I reread this one. So another series that I started and it really surprised me was Mile High. So this is the first book in a series of companion romance books, and I gave this one 5 stars somehow. I don't know how this happened. It's a 600-page romance book, a sports romance book even, and that is just not my thing. So this follows 2 characters, Zonders and Stevie. Zonders is part of a hockey team, and they get a private jet when they're flying about the country doing their sports stuff. And Stevie is one of the flight attendants on this plane, and that's how she meets Zonders and the rest of the team, obviously. And throughout this series we get to know different members of the team, or people from like other teams that you like sort of meet in this book and then get to know a little bit more in their own books. So this is kind of enemies to lovers, but not really. They just don't really like each other much at first. And at first I really didn't like it, but then by 100 pages I was so into this. I loved it so much. I loved the characters. I felt so much for Stevie and Xander's. Both of them have so much stuff going on. And it turned out to be a really, really sweet romance, and yeah, I loved it so much. It was such a surprise for me. I read books 2 and 3 as well. So I gave book 2 4 stars. That follows Stevie's brother and his love interest. Book 3 I only gave 3 stars. I found it really quite boring. I think that's because we weren't following the main couple from this one or anyone who was like directly connected to them. So that was a bit of a shame, and I haven't continued on with the series yet, but I do plan to eventually. I just wanted to put this on this list because it was such a huge surprise to me, and I just ended up loving Liz Tomford's writing and all of these characters. And I honestly wasn't expecting it to happen, so I just had to mention it. Another book series that I have been really enjoying is Her Majesty's Royal Coven. This is the first book. I've read the second book as well, and I will be reading the novella by the time this video goes up. This follows a coven of witches. There's a group of friends who have known each other for years since they were children. They've all grown up together and they're all now adults and they're going through various things in their lives, and it follows all of their points of view, and there are things going on. So Her Majesty's Royal Coven is a branch of the government. It's like super top secret, although the Prime Minister does know about it. One of the main characters is the leader of the coven, like the president of the coven, I suppose, Prime Minister, and she is very uptight. She's got a lot going on. And then the others are all her childhood friends. We know that before this book started, there was a massive war between the witches and warlocks and demons. And the witches kind of came out on top. They managed to defeat the bad guys. And somehow one of the main characters, Neve, her sister, was caught up in this war. I mean, they all were, but the sister in particular, Kira, she was caught up in it, like, quite badly. And that's a little bit of a mystery there that like carries through this first book. And in this first one, Neve has to look after a really powerful magical child who is called Theo, and they are said to basically be like the Antichrist or something, like a demon child. And the prophecies say like if this child comes around, then everything's gonna go to crap. And Neve is very much like Theo is only a child, like leave them alone. So it's about the 4 best friends being all caught up in this, having like arguments with each other and like fighting and trying to do the correct thing. So I really enjoyed this, and I would highly recommend it. The second book was all right, but it kind of like lost its way a little bit. I think it went on for a bit too long, and I feel like the author doesn't really know what to do with one of the characters, which is a shame. But overall, it's a really good series, and I'm really looking forward to the third book, which is coming out in 2025, I hope. I think the release date keeps getting pushed back, but it's currently scheduled to come out roughly in summer 2025, and I'm really looking forward to it because I just love these characters so much. I'm looking forward to seeing how it all ends and how I think everything wraps up. And then the first book that I read in 2024 was actually Bookshops and Bone Dust, which is the companion prequel to Legends and Lattes, and I loved this. It has such a similar vibe to Legends and Lattes, and I know a lot of people didn't love this one, but I think the reason for that seems to be that the books are too similar. But I read them quite far apart from each other, so I didn't go straight from Legends and Lattes into this one. And I think that's the way to go. You definitely need to leave a massive gap because the storylines are fairly similar. The vibes are like exactly the same, and like the story beats and stuff are the same. But that's what I wanted from this book. I wanted something very similar to Legends and Lattes, something cozy and lovely, and something about restoring a bookshop. Whereas in the first book, they're restoring or creating a coffee shop. So yeah, very, very similar. But because I read them so far apart from each other with a massive gap, I didn't mind. I really love this so much. It's wonderful, cozy, lovely, and I'm so glad I picked up this series. I don't know what the author is going to do next, but I hope he releases more cozy fantasies because he is really good at it. I started a graphic novel series in 2024 and finished the arc as well. So this was Something is Killing the Children. I read all, I think 7 volumes in 2024, and that's the end of Erica Slaughter's arc. So this is about a monster hunter called Erica Slaughter, and she is part of a group of people who, again, monster hunts. In this world, children can conjure up monsters that adults can't see unless you're an adult who is part of this like little group. It's really action-packed, it's really creepy, really gruesome as well. There's a lot of like body horror, gore, all of that, but I really, really enjoy it. It was so good. I first read the first book in February, and I've been reading the whole series throughout the year, and I really want to get my hands on it myself because I've been reading them from the library or from NetGalley, but they're so good, so I want to buy them and reread them probably in the new year because they're such good books. I really enjoy reading about Erica Slaughter. I like the monster hunting itself and the idea of having like a bunch of essentially like Winchesters to fight off these monsters, but these Winchesters are not nice, and Erica is trying to like break away from them because the group is kind of like a little bit corrupt now. So yeah, really enjoy it and I would highly recommend it. It's not something that's really spoken about online all too much. Can't remember how I found this. I think it might have been on my friend Lena's channel. I'm not entirely sure, but it's a very good graphic novel series and I would highly recommend picking it up. And then the last one that I would like to talk about is another graphic novel series. It's called Sweet Tooth. You may have heard of it because there is a Netflix adaptation, and this is really good as well. It's like a post-apocalyptic fantasy sort of book. In this world, there has been a virus which is causing babies to be born with like animal mutations, so like horns and hooves and wings and stuff. If humans without these features catch the virus, then they die, and there's only a small group of humans left. And it follows a boy called Sweet Tooth who grew up in a cabin in the woods with his father. His father is quite sick and dies quite early on in the series, and then Sweet Tooth is found by people who take him away to a military like base to be experimented on, and then it sort of expands from there. It's a really good series. Again, this is one that I would like to buy for myself because I really enjoyed it. Again, got really attached to all of the characters. I love the found family aspect of this. Again, it's quite gruesome and gory, but I think it was like respectful in that way, especially because you're dealing with children. It's just a wonderful series and I really like the way that it sort of built up and escalated and the way that it wrapped up as well, which was really important to me. So I'd highly recommend this as well. So those are the best series that I have read in 2024. I have some series that I really didn't enjoy. So if you would like, I could do a wrap up of the worst series that I read in 2024. If you would like me to, let me know in the comments below. There are some real rubbish ones in there, but otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what your favourite series of the year have been, and I'll speak to you all soon. Bye.